Very nice of you to want to do this. We're not particularly, a unique couple. We just haven't killed each other, so.
It's also the whole topic of love and dating and so forth. When I did the cover of the book, um,
The plug. Here's the plug.
here's the plug. Um, I did I used the font size to show the word prevalence in the book, and you can see
Yeah,
love is like as important an issue for young adults as anything could possibly be. So, yeah, here we
yeah,
are. Seems
absolutely.
to work for us, central thesis of the book. You want to find someone to love, go volunteer somewhere.
Stop.
You're listening to A Love Story, the podcast. Today I have guest host Melissa helping me welcome Peter and Saryl Samuelson to A Love Story. Peter and Saryl are celebrating 40 years of marriage today, December 24th, 2025. We are so honored to be a piece of celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary with them. I was blown away with this incredible story of love. And truthfully, not love at first sight, as you'll hear them share, but a love at the recognition in the sharing of values. Peter and Saryl clearly have a beautiful marriage that's been built on mutual understandings, honesty, sometimes brutally honest, and as you'll see, a lot of laughs. If those of us that listen to this love story could aim to love and laugh as much as these two do, truthfully, we think you'll be okay. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you love this conversation as much as we did. Welcome, Peter and Saryl. Welcome to the podcast, Peter and Saryl. We're so excited to have you here.
Happy to be here.
As Peter
We're
just
very
indicated,
flattered.
are you? Aw, I'm honored that you both decided to come because it's so much more fun when there's both half of the couple to tell the pieces of it, especially because sometimes you both remember things and pieces a little bit differently. So let's jump back then. What was dating like for you before you met Saryl, Peter?
So when I got into university, I was appalled to realize that there were 10 men for every one woman at Cambridge University. I didn't fancy those odds, and this bothered me a lot. So remember, I'm talking about 1970. I decided that what Cambridge University really needed was a dating service. And I thought, if I had one, I could have first dibs, right? So that wouldn't be bad either. So I went to a print shop and I printed up a two-sided form where what you had to do was fill it in with all your information and your opinions and how you felt about this and that, what you were studying, what your tastes were, and then you had to staple to it a £5 note, so that's about $7, and a headshot. And you had to send it back to a post office box. And I had 10,000 of these printed up, and I went on my trusty bicycle with a big box of these in the pannier each time. I went to every one of the 25 or so colleges of the university, and they had these things called pigeonholes where all it's where your tutor would put your graded
We call them cubbies.
Yes.
cubbies. Right. So
I knew what he meant. Thank you.
I'll interpret.
I strode in with my box of these printed forms and put one in every cubby. And, I went back to my college and I waited 2 days. And then I went to the post office box and there were 900 envelopes. And in fact, the postmaster was angry with me.
What?
He said, "You're a cheapskate. You took the smallest box and I have two sacks of mail here. And you have to take a bigger box if this is going to continue." And I went back to my room and I said, "Well, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is I now seem to have about $6,000 in money. Considering I really didn't have any before that, this was kind of an amazing thing. But I also thought, oh my God, I have to match these people up. And worse, there is something like 20 men who have filled this thing in and sent their money for every one woman. And what am I going to do? So I got friends in and we sat on the floor and we started off trying to be really serious about it. Okay, they're both engineers. And we ended up saying, she's tall, he's taller. It's a match. And our women, they got like 20 dates each, and the men got one each. And this continued, and more of these applications came in. It became a phenomenon until the dreaded day that in my cubby there was a note from the senior tutor that said, please come and see me on the subject of running a business from your room. I went, and he said, "This is absolutely unacceptable. You're supposed to be here to study English literature and French, and what is this? You can't run a business out of the college." And I said, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know that. I thought, entrepreneurial, very good, and all of that." He said, "No, no, no, you have to stop immediately." So I thought on this, and I thought, okay, I have to I'm not going to stop it happening because it's a real service. And furthermore, it's tons of money coming in. So there was a secretarial bureau, and they had done some, typing stuff for me. And I went in and I said, I have a business proposition for you, which is you will run this, you will do all of the work, and you can get half of the money. And they said, "Oh, we would love to do that." Two ladies. And for the rest of the time I was at Cambridge, I had this steady stream of money, and I didn't have to do anything. And I could say straight face to the senior tutor, I don't have anything to do with it. I don't see it. I don't do it. I am reading my English literature. So that was my first experience of a dating thing long before there were any of these flip left, flip right kind of things. This was pre-computers.
Did you keep any of the dates for yourself?
Oh, yeah. I did, absolutely. And that was a benefit as well.
No, that was the purpose.
Oh, well, I don't know that that was the
Yeah,
purpose.
sure.
It was a public service. I
All
felt
right.
that the undergraduates of Cambridge University should date more. It's a fundamental need to, pal around with people, flirt, and all of that good stuff.
Yeah, that's what you thought when you were 18 years old.
But you should ask Saryl what was her
I'm gonna
dating
ask
experience.
I'm just laughing too hard to ask a question.
I'm just howling because I'm like, what a foreshadow. I mean, I'm howling at all of it, but what a foreshadow to like the man you would grow to be, and the initiative that you take, and the businesses that you create, and the I just
No, his philosophy is there's a pot, here's a lid, done.
yes.
Absolutely. Okay,
I
so
love
Sarah,
that. Oh.
what was your dating life like before?
Well,
Peter?
I went to university, and I was very popular based on a rumor that was incorrect. I went out with one fellow from a very popular fraternity. I wasn't in a sorority. It was the time of the Vietnam War, so it was kind of like I'm going to be avant-garde, and knowing nothing really. But I went out with him, and he tried to kiss me. I was, virgin till I'm married, which, lasted another 3 years. But he tried to kiss me and said, "Oh, I'm not interested." And so he went back to his fraternity brothers and told them that he went all the way with me. So all of a sudden, and I, of course, didn't know this because I knew that I did nothing, I was being asked out 2, 3 times a week. And this went on for about 6 weeks until I went out with all of the unattached fellows from this fraternity, and word got around she ain't sleeping with any of us, and then nothing. So that was my experience then, and didn't bother me. I could just continue to coordinate my clothes for
Learned what all those men were interested in really quickly, hey?
Well, it was a fraternity, they have one thing in mind, which guys did at that age. And my mother said, your wedding night is the most beautiful night of your life, which really wasn't true at all.
She's not talking about me.
No, no,
That was her first
my
marriage.
first marriage. And I got married at 21 because I thought no one is ever going to ask me again. So
Oh,
because you're too young in your 20s to get married. You're just a post-pubescent. And I told my kids, don't get married until at least 30 and have no progeny on the way. All three of my kids got married at 28. Just goes to show you.
well, I mean, especially with the science now, knowing that our brains don't fully develop till we're 25, right? Like, there's
Oh,
so
they're not,
much.
in men, they're not fully developed at 25. I think around his age, beginning.
So Samuelson phase 2 of pre-Saryl is that once I emigrated to the United States and I became a film producer, and I tended to date who I met, which I would have to say were very attractive and not really, in most cases, very intelligent actresses. And at a certain point, and this gets to how I met Saryl, I said, this is really ridiculous. A pretty face is not everything. It would be nice to
Thank you.
sometimes spend time with someone who had read a book.
Someone who
And
had read a book.
the last straw, which is one of my favorite experiences, favorite memories, I knew I had to break up with this totally drop dead gorgeous, but thick as a plank of wood young lady, a real sweetheart, but this was not to be. And I told her we were at my apartment, and I told her I really don't think this is entirely on me, and all the nonsense that one says. And she was very upset and packed her stuff, and I carried her bag down to the valet
Nope,
parking place
nope.
on P1. Well, you weren't there, so how do you know?
Because I've been to your apartment and she had to have parked and you carried it down to her parking space. That's the only way the story works. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll tell my story now. So the car arrives at P1, and she's shouting at me that's completely untrue, and you don't know what you're talking about, and you're a dreadful, terrible, evil person. And I put her bag in the back of her car, and she now screeches away, lots of accelerator, except I'm really perplexed because she drives away from me in the underground parking garage downhill, right? And I can hear her winding her way downhill, further and further down into the bowels of the earth, P2, P3, P4, P5, P6, P7. And then there's a wall there because you can't go any further down in the garage. It only has 7 levels. And she screeches to a halt. And so I thought, well, this is the strangest thing. What is she thinking? So I sat, there was a little bench there at the valet park, and I sat on it, and I thought, well, I know what will happen now. She will wait until I go away. And when she's absolutely certain that I'm no longer there, she'll then drive up 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and she'll leave. So I just sat there and I waited. And sure enough, after, I don't know, 5 minutes, I could hear her winding her way upwards in the underground parking. And she was startled, when she saw that I was still sitting there. And she screeched to a halt, and she put her window down, and she said, "It proves nothing at all." And she drove away out of my life, never to be seen again. So I thought, well, this is clearly not working for me. This actress thing is not kind of what I'm about. I need to be able to have a conversation and shared interests and all of this. So I found out that there was a very early precursor dating thing that was called Great Expectations. This was way back. And I went down there, and it seemed to me that they had a real system. You got to look at a sort of one-page little note written by
The applicant.
the applicant. It was quite expensive. I think I paid many hundreds of dollars, maybe even $1,000. And then you went through these, and then they had either Betamax or VHS videotapes where the interviewer had asked 3, 4 questions and the person had just answered them. And so I had a whole system. I went through all the 3 ring binders and I made a list. And then I went through all those tapes and I reduced the list and I ended up, I don't know, with 60 or some number like that. And I started with A and I just dated the whole lot of them. A and then B and then C and then D. And eventually I got down to S and we met.
Oh, that's how
Yes.
you guys met. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I would get a postcard when someone chose me. Now I had the ability to choose men, but I really didn't need to because imagine me, I don't know, 45 years ago, much younger, the hair down to here and everything where it was supposed to be.
It's
And
supposed to be where it is, okay?
well, now
No, in general.
for my age, and so I got this postcard that says Peter would like to meet you, Peter number 27893. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, let me go with you," because I would have to go and look at his profile and look at his picture. And I said, she said, "Oh, he's adorable." And I said, I don't know. He's younger than I am. And I never dated anybody younger than I was. He was 3.5 years younger as Mrs. Robinson, what was, yes, Mrs. Robinson, the graduate. Yeah. So, so the owner of Great Expectations, who was a childhood friend of mine, which is why I didn't have to pay anything to join, said to me, "Oh, Peter picked you. You'll really like him. He's English." And he says, "Oh, no, no, no. He's a producer." I'm like, "Oh, no," with expected the jeans with the crease down the front and the tweed jacket and he's really rich. I said, "Yeah, so what?" And then he said, "And he's Jewish." I said, "Oh, okay, then I'll go out with him." Low ladder. So I accepted, and he asked me out on the brunch for Halloween, and he picked me up, and I thought, a white BMW. Who picks a white BMW? That's not a girl. And he came to the door, and I was just really accommodating him and the owner of Great Expectations. And we went out to this really, really terrific restaurant where, as I said to myself, he could have just phoned this in. First of all, the maitre d' said, "Oh, Mr. Samuelson, we're so happy to see we have your table." And I thought, "Oh, this is a guy who's been here a few times on first
I'd
dates."
been there 40 times with the previous 39 young ladies.
And
I always had the omelet.
yeah, the one with chicken livers, which I didn't understand at all. And and he said to me, as we're sitting there, he said, I said, "Listen, I think you're going to have to take me home now because I need to go pick up my son at his father's." I was divorced, from my first marriage, and my son was at this time, I think he was about 8. And he said, well, why don't you just take my car? Stick shift, mind you, never asked me if I could drive a stick shift, which I could. He said, why don't you take my car and go pick him up and I'll have coffee and you meet me back here. And I said, not comfortable with that. You don't know me. And at that point I hadn't, run over anybody. But so I said, the choices are this. You can take me home because I cannot be late. We're halfway there now, or you can just drive me up there, sit quietly in the car, and I'll pick up my son and we'll drive back to my house. And I didn't realize that he was, oh my God, what am I going to do? So as we're driving up to my ex-husband's house, he says to me, now, what do I say to your ex-husband? I said, you're not going to see him. My son will come to the door. I'll walk him down to your car, introduce him to you, the end. And then I asked him, do you want to go trick-or-treating with us tonight? No, no, I have plans. So, well, then would you, obviously didn't care that much. I said, would you mind? I need to get some things for dinner. Would you mind taking us to the market? And the market was 6 blocks from my house. I could easily have driven there, but basically I like to, I'm efficient. We're already going to pass the market. Perhaps we could just stop there. I need cheese. And so he said, okay. And that was the end of our date. And that was the end of our date. And I never mentioned it to anybody except the girl who went with me. And I said to her, she said, how was your date? And I said, take it or leave it.
So then I continued with I must have gone on to numbers 41, 42, 43, 44, and nothing much to mention there. And then I had this extraordinary adventure in philanthropy, which is that my cousin phoned me from London and said that she had met a very gravely ill little boy, an 11-year-old called Sean, in Children's Hospital in London, and that she was completely flummoxed because she said, I think I might have done a terrible thing because I asked him what would make him happy, and he said he wanted to visit Disneyland, which is 5,500 miles away from London. And I said, well, if you've promised him Disneyland, we'll have to bring him to Disneyland, go talk to his mum, go talk to the doctor, and let's see what we can do. So we cut a long story short, we flew him over and we did 2 weeks of what you almost certainly shouldn't be doing with a dying child. And we all had a fine old time, and he loved it and his mum loved it. And he went home and he passed away. And I was, really thrown for a loop by the whole experience because it was both very sad in one sense, he died, but on the other hand, we felt that we had really injected some happiness into a sad situation. And there were subsets to it, like realizing that we had given his mom a way of remembering her son that wasn't sad, not her son in a hospital bed with a tube up his nose and an IV, but, on the teacups at Disneyland, that kind of thing. So I called a meeting. I was running a film company by then called Interscope. I called a meeting after work. What you do as a producer, you sort of cast a meeting. What do I need? I need a lawyer. I need an accountant. I need a graphic designer. I need someone who understands the politics of hospitals. And I just stood there and I said, this is what we did. And maybe we could do it another 4, 5, 6 times a year. Just make, seriously ill children happier. Wouldn't that be good? And everyone said yes. So the lawyer said, okay, so we need to incorporate it. What do you want to call it? And I hadn't really given it any thought at all, but I had phoned the accountant sitting right there. And I had said, I'm so sorry I didn't call. I've been out of town and just BS, BS, BS. But I'm having this charity organizing meeting. I really need an accountant. I'm sure you said you were an accountant. Yes, I did. And I said, well, will you please come? And she said, yes. So that was our second date. And when the lawyer said, what do you want to call it? No one had a clue, except that Saryl said, you know that children's rhyme, starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight? I wish I may, I wish I might. Have this wish, I wish tonight. And we all said, yeah, that's great. We can call it the Starlight Children's Foundation. And that was our second date.
That's
And
so
then there was subsequent dates, a few. And then there was the moment where I realized that I had fallen in love, which was an epic, epic moment. We had,
Can I pause you for a sec, Peter? I want you to tell that
yeah,
story. But can I ask Saryl what you thought when he finally called you back?
Well, still, he had made no, I wasn't in love. He made no impact, really. I thought he was very intelligent and articulate and, organized and a good heart. But I did it because I had joint custody with my ex-husband, so I had half a week each week where I was on my own. So he asked me to come to this meeting on a night I didn't have my son. No reason not to. Something to do.
Wow.
Fair enough. So
I'm not I'm not that charitable.
there was there was no interest for you. You were just like, why not? I guess I'll go.
Exactly. Might as well. I'm
And
sorry, no
did
offense.
you think it was your second date as well, or did you think no,
Well,
I'm just going to a meeting?
Here's the only part that may have indicated to me. I had asked him, I said, my car is in the shop and it's going to be ready at the time while your meeting is taking place. So I'm going to miss my opportunity to pick it up tonight. So if you can take me home from the meeting, I can come to your meeting. And he said, sure. And so after the meeting was over, and it was the longest board table I've ever seen. You could easily sit 30, 40 people at it. It was huge. And he's picking up the papers and pencils from where everybody was sitting, the pads, the legal pads, and I'm helping him. And he says, you don't have to stick around. I said, kind of do. You're taking me home. And to show his interest in me, which I was kind of grateful for, is he pulled into my driveway, didn't turn off his car. Thank you for participating. I got out. That was the end of it. So going in thinking it's not a date and ending up knowing it was not a date, the end.
Yeah.
but then there were other dates.
Were there real dates afterwards, Peter? Did you take it somewhere
yeah.
nice?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And they went really very, very well. And I never got to the end of the alphabet at Great Expectations.
Oh, good.
I only got down to sort of T, and then I stopped that. And the moment that I thought, oh, maybe this is what love is that we had a Christmas party at County USC Medical Center through Starlight, where in the auditorium, all the very seriously ill kids were there, and we had a band, and there was, it was loud and music and lots of kids jumping up and down. But some of the kids were so seriously ill that they had to be wheeled in by Child Life and the nursing staff in their beds with the IVs and the traction and all the rest of it. And there was one little girl.
Wait a second. You didn't mention about the costumes.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so SeaWorld or whatever it was, Marineland had traded up their costumes and had donated their costumes of the characters to Starlight, and I wore a dolphin costume. So you couldn't see me at all, and I could see through the mouth of the dolphin. It was a black mesh thing that you couldn't really see in, and I could see out. Go ahead.
So the little girl is horizontal in the bed, dancing, and it was really to move your heart. And when I looked into the mesh in the mouth of the dolphin, there was Saryl's little face with big weepy tears, and all her mascara had run down her face. And I thought, oh, I think I love this person. So things took a turn for the good there, because definitely now Saryl had my attention, and things progressed. And at a certain point, we started living together, and eventually, I went down on my knee. I went I went to Cartier in Beverly Hills.
I thought to myself, retail?
Well, I thought, at least with Cartier, I know I'm not going to be given a piece of glass instead of a diamond. So they have wonderful customer service
You
there.
bet. You
And
think
the person who was dealing with me, the young lady dealing with me, we got it down to like 10 rings, and she had a bunch on her fingers, and I had some on my fingers. I don't know what value of rings were on those fingers. And we went out. She said we should look in daylight, and we're out there on
rodeo?
Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and we're going like this, and we're deciding which is the best looking ring. I didn't find out until afterwards that at the jeweler's 3 doors down, which was not Cartier, but a different one, Fred, on the same street, there had been an armed robbery where men with machine guns at that precise moment. And we had heard like police noise down the road, thought nothing of it, went back in, and I bought a ring and went home. Afterwards, I found out if I'd gone to the other jewelers, that we would have been there with the men with the machine guns outside. And we had, 10 rings on our fingers. Anyway, so I now had the ring, and we were living together. And David, Sarah's son, was in was in his bedroom, and we were in our bedroom.
No, I have to tell this story because
Okay.
he called me. No, because I know this story so well. He called me. Now, we had been living together a year, and it was never made that I was never made to feel that it was my house too. He had bought it before we were married. He sold, or he moved out of his condo, and then he bought this house, and he said, there's rules. There's rules. I need to have one night during the week and one day and night on the weekend where I am just alone in the house to just be able to wander aimlessly. Now, this was a 4,500 square foot house. So wherever he was roaming aimlessly, he was never going to run into me anyway. But okay, I agree. And so he said, okay, you can move in. Okay, you can unload the van now. And I had my stuff brought in. And so when I got this phone call that day, he said, I'm going to a meeting after I leave the office, but when I get home, I need to talk to you. Well, we need to talk, that's never good news. I'm thinking, oh, he doesn't like my kid there, or this isn't working out for him. He's going to ask me to leave. Well, I had a piece of property. I owned my own house, so I could move back in there. He made sure I didn't sell it or rent it out because in case it didn't work out. So, okay, son of a bitch. He's going to ask me to leave. So he calls me and says, I'm on my way now to this other meeting, but when I get home, because he had a car phone, when I get home, I need to talk to you. I never said to him what about, because I thought, if it's not good news, that's what you go to anyway. Just, I'm not giving him the satisfaction of saying, no, I'm not telling you till I get home, right? So my son and I started watching some movie in our bedroom, watching this movie that's on a videotape, could have stopped it at any time. And I get a call, and he says, I'm on my way home from this meeting, and when I get home, I want to talk to you. I said, I'll be here. And he, several minutes later, he comes into the room, and my son and I are watching this movie, and he says, I'd like to talk to you. And I said, well, we're watching a movie. When we're done, I'll find you. Because I knew already not gonna, he wants to make sure I'm listening. So the movie's over, and I said to my son, David, go to bed. I have to talk to Peter. And was not dressed in a very enticing way. He was wearing a sweatshirt, long sweatshirt that covered my knees that said Chicago on it. And I go into what was then his office or study, and I fold my arms and, what is it you want to talk about? And he says, come sit down. And all I'm thinking is I'm waiting to hear, so this is not working out. So I'm sitting next to him. He does not make eye contact. This is not good news. And all I'm hearing is la 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 la. And then he says, blah, blah, blah. So I want to live the rest of my life with you.
And I went down on my knees.
No, not then. Mm-mm.
I didn't.
No.
Oh.
He said, I said, what are you saying? He said, I want you to marry me. That's not a question. I want you to marry me. Well, my heart was beating 800 beats a minute because I'm waiting for him to say, so you're going to have to move out. So I started laughing hysterically, in the clinical sense, hysterically. I was hysterical. I'm laughing. And he said, well, this is not really the response I was expecting. And he said, but let me put it this way. And he reaches over into the drawer of his desk. On one knee, he says, you don't get to open this unless the answer is yes. Well, I recognize Cartier wrapping. And I said, well, of course, yes, because I knew he wanted to get married, and that if I didn't say yes, pretty soon it was going to be over, because he's single-minded. He has a mission, and like the Panzer Division of the German army, he'll go over anything to accomplish that. So I said yes, and I opened this red leather with the gold design on it, box from Cartier, and on the black velvet is a 3.5 carat round diamond with baguettes on each side, set in platinum. I mean, I'm no jeweler, but even I, when I pulled out my loop, knew that this wasn't.
Your loop that you carried for just such a need.
I looked at that and and I said, why? This is so perfect the way it is. Why do you want to get married? And he said, because I love you and I want to live the rest of my life with you. And I think this is to make this commitment is how it should be done. And I said, well, okay. And the ring hadn't been sized. And at that time I wore a size 3.5. Now it's a 6, but then it was a 3.5, and we put the tape around it, and I put it on, and boy, it could put your eye out. It was really gorgeous. And as we were, and I went in to show my son, and I said, David, Peter asked me to marry him. He said, is that because he wants to stay in this country?
Thank you very much,
I
David.
did. I said to him, that's very flattering to your mother. Thank you. And then as we were getting into bed, he said, oh, this is terrific. We'll get married and we'll have a baby and we'll be like a regular family. And I thought to myself, how could he have not paid attention that my birth control was a tubal ligation during my first marriage? And I thought, oh, well, do I get to keep the ring? What has to happen here? And I said to him, well, you know, I've had my tubes tied. And he said, it's okay, you can have them untied. It's not like tennis shoes, you know. And that was the beginning of a whole new challenge. But as it turned out, we had 2 kids. So we got married. He called his parents in London and he called his brother in Italy, and everybody knew, and it was very exciting. And the next day I wore this rock to my class for my postgraduate degree. And
Today's episode of A Love Story, the podcast, is brought to you by the Counseling Support Center. At the core of the mission of the Counseling Support Center is a commitment to delivering comprehensive and affordable online support to any individual in need. The Online Counseling Support Center was started with the overarching goal of providing accessible, affordable, and responsive counseling services. These services are brought through the supervision of qualified and insured graduate student professionals and fully licensed therapists. The center is able to provide access to affordable counseling while guaranteeing an exceptional level of skilled support. The Counseling Support Center uses scientific and evidence-based therapeutic strategies to treat and support various psychological challenges and mental health issues. The center is qualified to provide services that are not limited to, but do include, individuals and couples seeking support in addictions, anger, anxiety, depression, emotional adjustment challenges, general counseling, grief and loss, interpersonal challenges, and more. To get support, please contact the Counseling Support Center at thecounselingsupportcenter.ca or call them at 1-800-716-6846, or you can also email them at info@thecounselingssupport.ca. The Counseling Support Center acknowledges the Indigenous peoples who have long cared for the lands on which we live and work. They honor their history, contributions, and ongoing connections to their territories. They also welcome and celebrate the diversity within our community.
it was 4 months later, we got married. Actually, we got married December 24th, 1985, because what I said to him when I finally said yes is, this is great. We'll get married this year, and you can utilize my loss carry forward. And he said, well, I suppose that for an accountant, that's very romantic. And it was. It saved him a lot of money. So, and that's how I think. And so we went and had no ceremony, but the rabbi who was going to marry us a week and a half later agreed to sign the whatever, the license, whatever you have to sign, saying the marriage certificate, saying that we were legally married in 85 so that we could file a joint return for tax purposes. And then we had our actual wedding, which was so beautiful, a week and a half later. Go ahead.
So we've been married decades. We've raised 4 children together. We have 3 grandkids. And just to arc this around and bring it back to what could possibly be helpful here to young adults, and this is in the book, we believe that if you want to find someone to love and be loved by, which is a fundamental human need, and I would say it's a human right, what are you going to do? Seriously, go to a bar and while drunk, interview drunk people that seem attractive to you? Oh, that's really great. Do you notice that when a company is doing a search to fill a position, they tend not to be drunk and only interview drunk people, because kind of that wouldn't work out too well. Why do you think you will choose wisely? When you sober up, what have you got then that you met while drunk? Or seriously, you're going to flip left and flip right.
That works for a lot of people.
But do you realize that all the pictures are AI enhanced? You're going to be very disappointed when you go for the coffee, because that's not the face. And furthermore, they fibbed about all sorts of stuff in their profile. So our thesis, my thesis, our belief is, if you want to find someone to love and be loved by, first go and volunteer. Find a cause that you believe in, whether it's ecology or animals or seriously ill children or foster kids or whatever it is. Find the charity, go and volunteer, and go regularly. And as you settle in and you make friends there, look to the left, look to the right. Who are these people? Why are they there? They're there because they care about something that you care about. You now have common ground. That is your arena to date in. No reason why not. You're a volunteer. There's no chain of command issue. And you're already a leg up in um, the common interests thing. And every so often, I have to go to someone's wedding or we go together and I make a little speech and say, we're so happy that these two wonderful young adults met through Starlight or First Star or EDAR or one of my other nonprofits. And Saryl was the accountant for Starlight for
13 years.
13 years. And meanwhile,
Pro bono.
we took two families of divorce and turned them into a blended family. And I would say it's gone rather well. And certainly, Saryl is not only, my wife, but also my best friend.
Oh.
She's the editor of my manuscripts. She's the one who always speaks truth to power. One of the problems in leadership is that people tend to sort of kowtow to you.
Kiss your ass is
Kiss your ass is the American term, technical psychological term. Saryl never does that.
No.
She, talks back to me. She has read books. She wouldn't, if we had a row, and sometimes we do, she would never drive away downhill in an underground parking garage.
No.
For sure.
No.
And so, I mean, she jumps all the hurdles. And here we are. And it's.
And she's beautiful.
Oh,
absolutely.
She's read books and she's beautiful.
But I look at all our friends and I think, I got the best preserved one.
Yes.
And
because at night I go into the oxygen chamber. and didn't do much for Michael.
You got the best preserved one as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So there you have it.
Oh my gosh.
So Christmas Eve this year, we will be legally married 40 years.
Yeah.
And we've never celebrated an anniversary, not one in 40 years, not one. And part of the reason is every day is like an anniversary. In my first marriage, we celebrated a 6-month anniversary because we didn't know it was going to last. But figured, as long as you don't die, we'll still be married.
I love it. I have to backtrack on a question out of curiosity. Saryl, when did you know that you loved Peter?
On last Thursday.
I'm waiting. No, when did I know? I did know. I knew I was attracted to him on our third date. And there was.
Don't go into any more detail.
No. And we waited a long time. But in love with him, I don't know when it was. I just knew. Well, I know for sure at our wedding, I would rather have been alone with him in some quiet place, just the two of us making out, than being there. But it was, we're called for it, sent out invitations, catered it.
It's interesting. What are the litmus tests of love?
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose the core one, which lasts, is companionship.
No, not for me.
But let me finish.
Oh, okay.
So yesterday, on the other side of the road from where we live, there is a country club, and it has a rather fine restaurant with a patio, and it's the best view in Los Angeles. It's an extraordinary view. And there we sat, the two of us, having decided at the last moment, why don't we go over the road and have lunch? And I sat there and I thought, this is kind of like a date. And I am really enjoying sitting here with this person. And then my second thought was, who would I enjoy sitting here with more? And I couldn't think of anybody, because actually, I think the core value of our relationship 4 decades in, you raise the kids together. That kind of defines your marriage quite a lot. But at a certain point, they go off to college, and then they go off and get married and give you grandchildren, hopefully, and so on and so forth. But what you are left with has enormous value if you get it right, which is someone you can go across the road with and have lunch, and you would rather be with there in a hilarious conversation with them than with anyone else you ever met in your life. And in my case, that's absolutely true. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
I think that I understand the allure for Peter because he is very much like this. He gets on a project or an idea or something, and he is this, and he could do it all day and all night. And if I would say to him, come down and I'm not really hungry. Well, yeah, I love to cook. He doesn't care. Fine dining for him is taking the food out of the can and eating it. So, but he has said to me, the great thing about you is that being married to you is almost as good as being alone. And I feel the same way because we have, they say, oh, we're two sides of the same coin. No, we're two coins. And we just have such compatibility because I don't ever have to ask him for anything, and he doesn't ask me for, we're independent, but we get together for the family, for the love, for the affection, for the warmth. And at night, when he holds my hand, I feel pretty damn good. So that's what you can say. It just works for us.
We had 11 at the table for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
What is that, last week?
This week, not even a week.
Yeah, not even a week. And I looked around and I thought, oh, I guess this is what joy is. This is just a seamless basket of happiness going on here. It was also extraordinary. You know that thing, a table of 11 people, whether it's in business or in your private life, always breaks into two conversations. 11 is too many.
Three people
to hold one conversation. And we both independently, when everyone had left, we said, what was remarkable about that? And we often complete each other's thoughts. I don't even remember which of us said it, but it was true. And we had both noticed there was one hilarious conversation that lasted 2.5, 3 hours.
Everybody participated.
And everybody participated, and everybody loves each other.
Nobody was.
We love that our kids are each other's dear friends and who their partners are, who they married, and so forth. They've just all gone off without us, I might say.
Way too much without us.
Well, that's your kids. If you raise independent kids, they, at a certain point, they want to go live their life. You can tell how close they want to be and how often, because they've moved different distances away from us in order to create the ideal autonomy. So they all went after Thanksgiving. They went and drove to the Angeles National Forest, taking trucks and SUVs and pickup trucks and axes and a chainsaw. And you can buy permits to cut down your own Christmas trees. And they all cut down their own trees and then went off in their separate directions.
And we're Jewish, so that's how much they wanted to be together.
They're called Hanukkah bushes.
Nah.
They're called Hanukkah bushes? Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
Ain't true. Yeah. But we're very grateful that they're together because especially for our younger two, we're considerably older than they are, if you can imagine, because we got married. I was 38, and that's a real test because we want to know that they are together, that they have each other. And
they totally love each other. They announced that they were going to Australia. One of our children, Jeffrey, his hobby is that airlines, every so often the computer messes up and it declares a ridiculously underpriced fare. And you have to be very quick to jump in and buy them before they realize their mistake. So Jeffrey said, I don't know how long it's going to last. It'll be gone by midnight.
You have to
But
answer now.
we can go to Australia business class for $300 a head.
Round trip.
What?
Who's coming?
Because it was meant to be like 3,000 or 30,000, whatever it was. And
they all went to Australia at the drop of a hat.
Oh.
And we said, well, do we go? No, you don't go.
No, they've never invited us along. I understand that.
Yeah.
They're not that fun.
We raised self-determinant, autonomous, mature adults, and they do their thing. And, you know, we see them often, but not often enough.
Oh my gosh. That is like, I love it. I love the way you speak about your children and raising them together and your story and the way you tell it. I'm so glad we did this together with the both of you.
I know we talk a lot. I hope you can edit.
No, it's so good. It was so wonderful. Like you guys had
amazing.
You were telling, yes, absolutely. I want to ask you a couple questions though about your relationship, if that's okay. I want to ask you in your whole of your relationship, you can go early dating years, marriage, whatever. What's one thing that you felt you really had to overcome and work together to work through?
Go ahead.
You can both have different answers.
Different answers.
I
Yeah.
often have to be hungry when I'm not really hungry. I mean, this is a pathetically little thing, but Saryl is a master chef,
No, not a mess.
and I cannot not eat her food, because if she's slaved away for 2.5 hours making some recipe, I have to go down and eat it. And I'm sometimes not really hungry. I get hungrier when I see the food, because one of the things about her food is it's so beautifully presented as well as tasting really good. So I have to, you know, I have to develop hunger in order to deal with the consumption of my lover's food prep. Okay, your turn.
There's no little thing. There's a lot of little things. But one of them is it annoys me when I say, I need you to da-da-da something now. And he says, okay. And then it could be 45 minutes later. Now means now.
No. If I'm working, I mean, one of it's in the book. One of the secrets of success is you have to be single-minded and you have to finish things. And also, I mean, I've done so much writing in my later years. When you get on a roll and it's just coming off the end of your fingers, you have to go with it. I've just written a whole article, I hope, for Wired magazine. I'm going to find out, because I was seduced by an AI bot and that tried to hire me. And I've had this amazing experience, which I have since written up. And no, you can't interrupt me while I'm doing that. I need to, while I'm sort of feeling the narrative flow, I need to get it out and put it down in writing.
Here's how single-minded he is. And
I was going to say, it must be nice to be a dad.
I accept that. And I'm glad that we live in a community that people pay attention to their neighbors, especially when somebody screams at the top of her lungs, help me. So sorry, this is on you. I was fixing the hydraulic, I don't know what you call it, our gate, our front gate. You open it up, and instead of it slamming closed, it's got a hydraulic thing that lets it close slowly. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen them. Well, that's handled by something that, in this case, presented 220 pounds per square inch ability to close this heavy wrought iron gate slowly. Well, I saw that it wasn't lined up right, so I went to fix it, and my two fingers got caught between the top of the closing device and the hydraulic canister. And I knew there was no way I could get out of there by myself. And I've given birth, so I know what loud is. And I was screaming so loudly, help me. You know, you have that dream where you're running away and you're screaming, help me, and it comes out. New. This was, they heard me in Ohio. And a man across the street heard me, ran over, called his father, called 911. My husband, who was upstairs, now, albeit I was outside and he was immediately upstairs.
With the window closed. I never heard her.
Never heard her use. So I was there in shock, pouring down sweat, but freezing cold, ready to throw up. Turns out the guy who was trying to saw the thing away was a physician. His father across the street was a physician and brought over a chair for me to sit down because if I had fallen down, I don't know if it would have been the end of my hand, but certainly would have been the end of two fingers. Anyway, neighbors walking back from the pool stopped by, gave me a bottle of water. They're closing in on me. The fire engine comes. They use the jaw of life to open up this hydraulic canister from my fingers, which the fingers were like a crepe. They were so squished together. And it looked like they were down to the bone. And they opened it up and I got into the ambulance and they took me to the hospital and they said to me, your husband isn't home. I said, well, he better not be, but he is. And so that's how he's so single-minded.
So I go to the hospital. It was at the tail end of COVID, and they wouldn't let me in. So I'm sitting in the parking lot.
So he's inconvenienced for no good reason.
I'm sitting there for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the parking lot, talking to Saryl by cell phone and saying, well, tell me when they'll let you out because they won't let me in. I've tried. And she didn't lose her fingers, which was an absolute.
They said they did everything. They had a hand specialist said, you have no nerve damage, no broken bone, no blood, no black and blue mark, nothing. So for the grace of God, you know.
Very lucky.
Yeah. And for good neighbors.
Yeah.
And a husband, I guess, who needs hearing aids or something. I don't know. It was not his finest moment.
I mean, maybe it's a good thing he didn't hear you because then the doctor wouldn't have come.
Oh, no, he would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was already on his way.
No, it would have been better if I had heard, but I never heard.
Yeah.
Shockingly, if I had realized that my wife was screaming, I would have gone immediately to deal with it. But
although when I sneeze, and I sneeze loudly, he can hear that from the kitchen all the way up to the bedroom upstairs.
Well, because listen, the pictures on the wall rattle.
So those are some of the things he's had to deal with.
Oh my God.
So as you can tell, we are the Bickersons, but also, there's a bit of Romeo and Juliet going on here, but without,
the dying at
the end.
There will be that.
There will be that, but not yet.
I haven't put him in charge of my end of life. Well, and he hasn't put me because he knows that if he sneezes, I'm pulling the plug.
You guys are the most adorable couple. I hope you know that.
Oh no, I didn't think we were. I thought we were kind of dull. But thank you.
No,
no dullness.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. I have another question for you about your love, but I want to say, Melissa and I had this conversation after, I can't remember if it was after our last conversation with you, Peter, or our first one, but we had a conversation with each other about our conversation with you about wondering about your kids, because you meet people who do incredible work and they do incredible charity work and they seem like they probably are raising great humans, but sometimes they're not because they don't cross it over from the work they put out to the work they put in their home. And so we were so curious to know about your kids and hear who they were and what they were doing. Not like all the details, you don't have to give that out, but just your opinion of where they were at, right? Because you don't know. And so that's really cool to hear.
I think they're all doing splendidly. And I think the proof of immodestly some pretty good parenting is they have all chosen completely unrelated and different careers, directions.
No, not David. My child from my first marriage.
No, I mean from each other.
Oh,
We've raised diverse children.
yeah, diverse.
David is a financial manager.
He's a
Pamela is a
teacher.
masseuse, sexologist, dancer, acrobat, singer.
She's very talented.
She's a composer. She's amazing. And the third one, Jeffrey, is our scientist.
Oh, yeah.
Ask him a scientific question, and he already knows the answer. And that's been since he was like 9 years old.
Oh, he's incredible.
And Rebecca is she's the alumni fundraiser for a great big boarding school in Central California. And the grandchildren are very diverse. We have a 19-year-old jazz bassist, first year at UC Santa Barbara.
But smart enough to know that he doesn't want to be a musician. He wants to be in the music industry, in the business side of it.
And the Zachary is a certified scuba instructor.
He's 16 and a half.
And that's his thing. He's teaching people who are 40. And then Cora very much takes after her mum. She's a singer, artist, painter, dancer, wonderful little kid. And so they're very diverse. And who the four that have a partner are married, or both.
They're all married but Pamela. But
yeah.
She has a partner.
She has a life partner. And I mean, very diverse people they've chosen. Jeffrey's wife, Rose, has a degree in forestry and has a very senior position with the state of California in attempting not to have forest fires.
Got a big badge.
Yeah.
She's
a Jeep, a badge.
Real high up.
Yeah. And then
Rebecca's husband.
Well, let me do them so I don't forget. David's wife, Michelle, is a therapist. So really MSW, fantastic. Rebecca's husband is a paramedic firefighter. Every time we have dinner, he tells us how he rescued someone by climbing up a cliff where they were clinging to a ledge, and he had to stabilize them, and the helicopter came and they lowered the basket, and he had to get them into the basket and push it away, and all that kind of thing.
He's our trophy, and especially because he's very tall and we are not tall people. So when he comes over, oh, thank you. Can you get this off the top now?
And
use what you have.
Yeah. Pamela's partner, Adam, is many things, but including a real IT guru. And he's taken sort of Asian tea making to a ritual, an art, really, I would say, where the tea is the least of it and the surrounding events are what it's really about. It's all to do with finding your inner peace and so forth. They couldn't be more different. The fact that, we've raised them is I think something. It means that we raise self-determinant adults, and they've gone off and been self-determinant. You can't really blame them. We're the ones who encourage them to be that.
And especially, not that the others aren't, but especially David and Rebecca. Rebecca's our baby and David's the oldest, are very charitable. Both, well, David especially financially and giving of himself. He was teaching personal finance to inner city kids. You have this much money. How do you live? How much do you spend on food and so forth? And I know he does this because he's asked me to come with him. I'm not a good teacher, but he is. He used to teach elementary school for years, and he said, if I have to read this book one more year, I'm going to shoot myself with it. But so that's when he went into to become a certified financial planner, and Rebecca has worked for a girls' school. Then she worked for the Humane Society, and now she works for another school. And it's always to help increase the value of lives. So I'm very proud of them.
That's really
Wow.
lovely.
To be a fly on the wall at your family Thanksgiving
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this.
sounds like the picture of American Thanksgiving.
I have never, and I do two big meal dinners a year. Passover, which this year was 21 people in on one table. I know.
Whoa.
Uh, and and Thanksgiving, and this is twice a year for however many years, and I have never had as good of a time as this Thanksgiving last week.
And the other thing that's really interesting, reading before Thanksgiving online, so many people worried about, oh God, Uncle Phil, who's down the opposite rabbit hole
Mhm.
politically. Oh, what will he say? And will someone stand up to him and talk back to him? And it'll get into an argument. I would say the other gift, maybe, that we've encouraged our kids to take is the gift of humanity, of kindness, of generosity, of trying to do best by people. That tends to push back. If you have that, then you are not really in a rabbit hole. You can be conservative, you can be liberal, you can be in either party, but you aren't going to be full of hatred and loathing for other if you actually have as your core values that you maybe got from your parents: kindness, empathy, ethics.
Yep.
And we
100%.
have very diverse friends. We have friends of all colors and all religions. And one of my best friends, by the way, lives next door now. And she is from, where did I say? India. Her father's Indian and her mother's from Persia, and she's Jewish. And her husband, who's Jewish, is from New York. So, and she's 20 years younger than I am. And we're like this. Do you have molasses? Can I borrow this? My lemons are ready to harvest. It's just, I have the key to her house and her alarm code, and she has the key to mine. And
That's really
that's
beautiful.
nice. That's
Yeah,
nice.
that's lovely. Yeah. Okay, I have two more quick questions for you guys each, and then we can let you go. And one of them is, do you remember the first thing that you really loved about each other, and does it still hold true today?
Well, I thought her mascara ran really beautifully and in a loving kind of
Do you
way.
still love when it runs?
I waterproof now. What I'm
Yeah,
not an
yeah.
idiot.
I think when I realized that we had the same values, I think that is very heartwarming. So that would be mine, I think.
I very early on respected him. And to me, respect, and not to diminish love and attraction because they're right up there, but respect is really the most important thing to me, really, in any relationship. So I have that, and I respected him at that first Starlight meeting because he's articulate and he knows how to run a meeting and never flummoxed. And I mean, I'm no good at leading anything, but he really impressed me. And I think that's something that that hasn't diminished in our relationship. Whatever I would hate about him, personally, I always respect him.
Let me add this. I sometimes think, because so much of what I do is entrepreneurial, what is entrepreneurship? Doing things that haven't been done before, really, and trying to make it work and keeping at it, and hoping that it's going to work out. It's very vulnerable. It's very insecure. the fact that I always, in everything, however Don Quixote, cockamamie, unlikely the thing that I'm doing is, Sarah's always there right next to me and helping and advising. And I sort of think one and one make three. There's that fantastic cartoon of Yogi Bear where he accidentally walks off a cliff and he carries on horizontally whistling. And I think he thinks, so long as I don't look down, there won't be any gravity. I'll see if I can get to the other cliff opposite. And I sometimes think being an entrepreneur is like that. And there are very vulnerable times. And I think you need unconditional love and encouragement from somebody who believes in you, because it often is very, very difficult. Let's hear it for deciding to be a film producer. Here I've got an idea and I need somebody to give me $20 million to go and turn it into a film. Oh yeah, that's really a long shot of long shots. So, and I've done that 30 times.
He has his goals at 140%. And I like to say he's the wind beneath my wings, because he finds the best in everything. And I'm the millstone around his neck.
No, I don't think so.
Well,
there was a song about the wind beneath your wings, by the way.
Yeah.
Very, very good
Yes.
song.
Yes. I know the song.
I didn't make it up. I didn't claim authorship. I'm not creative.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's really, I don't know if you know how beautiful it is, but it is really beautiful. And the dynamic between you two is incredible. And I just want to say, Saryl, you said you're not good at leading anything, but you've led a wonderful family. So,
Well, I was born to do that. Thank you. Thank you for taking time with us. I know that we're very verbose because, words are free. And I'm impressed that you wanted even to, Peter, I understand the interest level, but nobody's ever wanted to talk to me, and I appreciate it.
oh, absolutely. I mean,
That
we
is
would
so
have taken
That
Peter, but
is-
it was
that
way
is
better
the
with Saryl.
wrongest statement in this whole interview is no one's ever wanted to talk to me. I've never known anyone with so many friends. It's ridiculous. I go over to the club on some business lunch. Sarah's at a table with 12 other people, regaling them with something or other. She has more hot and cold running friends than anyone should have.
Oh my God.
So, no,
Don't be jealous.
right. A very gregarious girl.
Yes.
You two are just so lovely, and I just loved spending the morning with you. It's just
Well,
been
thank you.
great.
Thank you so
Well,
much for
thank
your
you.
time. We're so grateful.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good rest of your
Bye,
day.
guys. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet you,
You
Saryl.
too.
Thank you so much for listening to this love story. If you enjoyed it and would like to spread the love, please make sure to share this with a friend, leave a review, rate the show, and tell everyone you know about a love story. And if you really loved it and would like to record your own love story, please reach out at alovestorythepodcast@gmail.com.